Minutes late. Apologize to the governor. We just had a really wonderful event at PS 52, which is one of the two schools in my old council district that was devastated by the storm. And the New York Met organization come down and doing wonderful things for the school. It was really a heartwarming event. But I'm glad to be here with my colleagues who represent Staten Island, with our governor. And I want to start by thanking him and his team. I want to thank Jamie Rubin. I want to thank Rebecca St. Clair. I want to thank our local warriors, Staten Islanders who work for the governor, who have been working day and night, the Lisa Bova Hyatts, the Alice, the Blockies, the Barbara Brancachos, the Paul Duffys. Governor, you should be proud of your team. They are responsive, they're compassionate, and they have followed your lead. This has been an extremely difficult and long 2 years. And I'm not sure if the progress reflects the energy and the time and the emotion many of us have put in. I'm not sure there's a good reason why 2 years later folks aren't in their homes. I just met a little boy at PS 52 who's not in his home. And I have strong opinions as to what happened and what should have happened and what didn't happen. But I don't want to focus on that now because today's not the day. We got a few things right. And thanks to the leadership of this governor, the buyout program was one of those things. And like anything else in life, it takes leadership and leadership from the top. And I want to thank the governor and his team for the weekly calls, the meetings at Borough Hall, the meetings, individual meetings with my colleagues standing behind me. We have a long, long way to go. We have to be better. We have to be more effective. We have to be smarter. And Governor, we need your continued commitment to this island. Please continue to do and have your team do what you have done since this storm has hit. I am in the first year of my borough presidency. I don't know if I have 3 years left or more than that, but I think every one of us who stands up here who's in elective office, regardless of how long we will be in office, we will be dealing with this storm, with the rebuilding and the recovery. And we will not get to where we want to go without leadership. And Governor, you have led the way. We are appreciative of that. We're asking you to continue that. It is my responsibility now to introduce Pedro, who has lived this every single day for the last 2 years. Pedro.
Thank you, Borough President. My name is Pedro Correa, and I am a New Yorker through and through. I grew up in Brooklyn and became a Staten Island homeowner 8 years ago. I chose a neighborhood to raise my family that instantly welcomed us into the community. The night that Sandy hit, I will never forget. I was preparing to leave my home and join my wife and children, who had already evacuated. But the seawater rose too quickly. I had made it through September 11th and the tour in Iraq, but nothing made me fear for my life more than swimming for the next 6 hours in the darkness, clinging to a sheet of plywood. The flooding completely destroyed our home. My neighbor's house crashed into ours, and it lifted up and settled into a nearby swamp. After Sandy, my family had no place to call home. We struggled to make ends meet because we still had a mortgage to pay and a house that no longer existed. We explored using the FEMA flood mitigation program, but that would take years, and I nor my wife could emotionally or financially afford the waiting game. When Governor Cuomo introduced the Sandy buyout program, it was a dream come true. Governor Cuomo said he wanted the program that would work quickly, and he was right. The process was amazingly fast. It took less than a year from the time the appraiser arrived to the day I signed for closing. I am now the owner of a beautiful home in Pleasant Plains, and today I'm proud to say that on Monday, my family officially moved in. Never in a million years did I expect this to turn out the way it did. And it is because of Governor Cuomo stepped up and did what was right for me as a Staten Island homeowner and for my family as New Yorkers. It is my pleasure to introduce the governor of the great state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Pedro Correa. First, talk about service to country and service to community and courage. That's what he's all about. Let's give him a round of applause and thank him. To the borough president, I want to thank him for his leadership. I said at one time he had big shoes to fill, which is true, but he has done really an outstanding job during a very, very difficult time, and he's earned the respect of everyone on the island, on both sides of the aisle. Let's give him a round of applause. It's a pleasure to be with him. We have my state colleagues, without whom none of this today would have been happening, and I'd like to acknowledge them. We have Assemblywoman Nicole Malatakis, we have Assemblyman Michael Cusick, we have Senator Andrew Lanza, and Senator Diane Savino. Let's give them a round of applause. We have Congressman Michael Grimm, who's with us, and David Sorkin and Vin Lenza, who are the New York Rising co-chairs. I'd like to give them a round of applause. You know, this is the anniversary, and anniversaries are always about looking back and looking forward. And as you heard from the borough president, when you look back at Hurricane Sandy, it still sends a shiver down your spine. If not a tear to your eye. I don't know that in my generation, absent 9/11, that we went through anything like that. I mean, it was a traumatic, devastating occurrence. 61 deaths in the state of New York, 23 here on Staten Island. Homes destroyed, lives destroyed. People forget or they can't appreciate. When you lose a home, or when a flood comes through your home, or the water goes through your home, it washes away your whole life. It washes away the photographs. It washes away the official papers. It washes away everything. It's like a blank slate, like things just never happened. It takes your whole life and just turns it upside down. And it can take months and months and years to recover personally. I run into people all day long who are still just from the trauma affected of what they went through and the fear they went through. And Staten Island paid one of the highest prices for Hurricane Sandy. And as the borough president said, it is still an ongoing effort. And we're still working to get families back where they need to be. But the question is, in life, in society, when you go through a tough time, what do? You know, in life, you're going to get knocked on your rear end. That's the way life works, one thing or another, one way or another. A health issue, an economic issue, something is going to knock you down. And the question is how you handle it when you get knocked down. And do you get up, or do you wallow in the mire? And do you get up and do you learn from it? And are you stronger for it? And do you go forward or not? Well, Hurricane Sandy knocked us down. And it hurt. And it still hurts. But we said literally in the days following Hurricane Sandy, same group of people who are with me today, said, yes, we got knocked down, and yes, it hurts, and yes, we paid a price, but we're getting up. And when we get up, we're getting up together. And when we get up, we're going to be the stronger for it, and we're going to learn from this. And our goal is not just going to be to rebuild what was, but to build back a stronger Staten Island than ever before. That was our resolve after Sandy. And that was our commitment one to another. And that was our commitment to the people of Staten Island. We're going to be the better for it. And when we said it, people looked at us like, well, it can't be. Look at the devastation. Look at the pain. Look at the suffering. And we said, we see that, but we know who we are. We're New Yorkers. And we know what we're capable of. And when we know what we're capable of when we're united. And you watch. We're going to get together, we're going to work together as a team, and we're going to come back stronger. And you know what? We have come back better than before. We learned lessons, and Staten Island is going to be the better for it. What we're talking about here today emphasizes and is a symbol for one of the things we learned. We're doing a buyout which would have been unheard of. We're buying out hundreds and hundreds of homes. Why would you do that? Look at the structures. Many of them were relatively recent. Why would you do that? Because we learned an important lesson. We learned that Mother Nature still wins. And when it's Mother Nature versus man versus the built environment, Mother Nature wins. And that the coastline belongs to Mother Nature. And the coastline performs a very important purpose. That when there is a storm, that is the buffer zone. That is the absorption zone. That is the differential. And a lot of what we did infringed on Mother Nature. We're now rebuilding oyster beds. Who would have heard, who could have even imagined that? We're rebuilding wetlands and marshlands and grasslands. Why? Because they all had a purpose. They were all part of the balance. It wasn't just an inconvenience. It wasn't that we can come in, pour concrete, build a home, and claim the land from Mother Nature. No. When she comes back, and it may only be every 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, but she's coming back. And when she comes back, she's going to reclaim that land. We learned that lesson. And we are now buying out hundreds of homes. And this is going to be one of the models in the nation that makes exactly that point. We are buying out these homes. We're going to demolish the homes. With the help of the Army Corps of Engineers, we're going to return this back to the natural, pristine wetlands so that, God forbid, there is another storm, this becomes an effective buffer for the rest of the communities. And it was a painful lesson. And it's especially painful for the families that had to go through it, not just that day, but then had to go through the uncertainty of what do we do, where do we go, who's going to help us. All these federal agencies, a whole alphabet soup of FEMA and this and that and all these regulations. And this is a very, very novel program and approach. And I applaud the New York State Legislature for this. And I applaud the senators and the assemblymen who are with us today, Senator Lanza and Senator Savino and Michael Cusick and Nicole Malliotakis, because we had never done this before. We had never even thought about doing anything like this before on this scale. But they brought creativity and they brought cooperation, and we worked across the aisle and we made it possible. I'm proud of what we did here. As the borough president said, not everything has worked as well as we want it to work, but I'm proud of what the state did. And I'm proud of the state's effort. And I'm proud especially of the creativity we showed here in this community. And the real heroes are the people who are behind me, and not the elected officials, but the community residents who came together and they organized and they unified and they made their voice heard and they stomped their feet and they raised their voice and they did whatever they had to do to get the attention of government, which isn't always easy, but they did. They made their case and they were right. And that's why we're here today. I'm sorry for what they went through, but I want them to know on a personal level, and I know I speak for my colleagues, we are proud of them. We're proud of their resolve. We're proud of their courage. We're proud of what they did. And it's just our pleasure that we can be a small part of the solution to helping them move on with their lives. And their lives will have been the better for it. They paid a high price, but we are rebuilding, and the future is going to be brighter than before. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to be with you today.